Throughout the pandemic in the beginning, so many of our rescues were seeing great success as people were stuck at home. They were adopting pets from the shelters. But is that still the case? Joining us now on the show, let's bring in Matthew Pepper. He's the president and CEO for the Michigan Humane Society. Matt, so great to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
Definitely one of my favorite rescues. How are things going for you and the team right now?
Well, I can tell you, like all of us, we're navigating a difficult environment, constantly looking at ways to evolve our services to better serve the community. We know how essential they are to both the people and the pets of the community. But adoptions, as you sort of alluded to, are really skyrocketing. I mean, pet ownership is a big deal right now, and we're proud to support that.
I when in the beginning we were seeing shelters become empty because so many people were adopting pets, I worried that down the line, so many of them would end up back at the shelters. Have you seen that, or has that not been the case?
So actually, we've seen the opposite. We pride ourselves on really a comprehensive process of matching the right people with the right pets, whether you're in a pandemic or in any other time. So we've actually seen a reduction in our return rate. We're seeing people really find a groove with their pets and continue to want to find additional partners for their existing pets and take advantage of the support services we provide, the veterinary care, the enrichment opportunities. And the reality is people are finding lifelong partners right now.
Oh, and the good thing is they become really our escape from the COVID-19 crisis. It's a great distraction.
Well, you're 100% correct. So we consider ourselves, even though our work is through the animals, we're really a human-centered organization. And if you think about the pandemic and the feelings of isolation, the stress, and then you think about how much a pet can bring to our life during that time, how much just relief, comfort, love we can get from our pets. Clearly the value that we can provide them, they outweigh that value in what they provide us. So I am really incredibly proud of how pets have been elevated in this community during the pandemic.
So with that, and Matt, I should ask too, do you think one of the good things coming out of this, because we are home so much with our pets, we've been able to spend more time with them to try to train them?
Yeah. So I think you're absolutely correct. I think people are home. People, if you need to get out of the house, what do? You take your dog for a walk. You find a park, you find a trail, you find some people that you're comfortable with that have pets as well. So absolutely, people are home. They're learning their animals a little better, but there's a double-edged sword there. At some point, people are going to be going back to work, and so we need to also make sure that we're preparing our pets for that day when it comes, so that we don't end up having destructive behavior when a condition changes. But what we're seeing is people putting in the time for their pets right now, and it's a great thing to see in this community.
It's now that you mentioned it as well, because we are starting to be not in the home as much as we were once before, and there is a process. What advice do you give to the pet owners out there that maybe adopted a new furry friend during the pandemic? We were home with them all the time, but now we're starting to leave our houses more.
Yeah. So first of all, don't love them any less. Continue to take your dogs for walks. Continue to love them, engage with them, give them their best life, and they'll give you your best life. But as you start to transition back into work, start to give your dog or your cat some time away. Maybe start to acclimate them to when you're back at work, so that it doesn't come as a shock to the system. In reality, dogs and cats even are creatures of habit. And so if you can create some patterns that allow them to be comfortable with the transition when it comes, it's going to work out better for everyone. And if anyone needs help, Michigan Humane is here to support them. We've got opportunities to help give people the right information to help transition smoothly back into the workforce.
That's good to know, because one of the other things, we adopted a new rescue pet right before the pandemic, but then once everything got shut down, we haven't had people into the home like we normally would. So, sometimes too, you see dogs that are showing a little bit of aggression towards people coming into their homes because they're not used to having strangers come over and visit.
Yeah. Well, you're absolutely right. So just like you would acclimate them to time away, you want to start to slowly acclimate them to strangers as they come back into your house again. It all really is about developing patterns, but developing them slowly, at a pace that your pets are comfortable with. I'm sure right now my little three-legged Rocky is at home clawing at my door because I'm not there right now. I'm at our Howell facility right now.
So we should point out as well with the Michigan Humane Society, you've been a part of the community for really decades, but you have different locations. Give us an overview of Michigan Humane and where your centers are and where people can find a pet if they want to.
Yeah, it's actually been a long time. So we actually started in this community in 1877. We're 144 years old, and just a little piece of history about Michigan Humane. When I talk about us as a human-centered organization that focuses on the family through the pets, that's really how we started. So the Michigan Humane Society started as an organization to protect women and children, the subject of domestic violence, and then workhorses. And we actually still do a lot of that work now through training police officers, through working with other health and human service organizations. We're a much more complex organization than one that simply offers a place to adopt, which we do very well. And you can do that at either our Livingston County facility here in Howell. We have a facility for adoption in Westland. We have our Detroit Center. We have our Petco in Sterling Heights, which is a small adoption center there. And then we have multiple satellite facilities throughout the Metro Detroit area through Premier Pet Supply and PetSmart.
So with that, Matt, too, when we think about the Humane Society, we think dogs, but you get other animals. I think I remember doing a story once. You guys had a pig that came in. It was adopted pretty quickly, though.
Yeah. So I just got done looking at a guinea pig, and well, that's kind of a more common other species. We've had tigers, we've had bears, alligators. We get snakes in. So we both do wildlife rehabilitation through our Rochester Hills facility, in addition to other various small animals. At any given time, we could have dozens of rabbits at our facility for adoption, guinea pigs, domestic rats, anything you can imagine, we've been asked to handle at some point. And I will tell you, even if you took away dogs and cats and just looked at the other species we handled, we would still be one of the largest shelters in the state of Michigan.
Wow. Matthew Pepper with us here on the MegaCast. He's the president and CEO for the Michigan Humane. So with that too, Matthew, if I can ask you, how are donations going?
Well, right now we're doing very well as an organization. I think it shows how important the work we do is to this community, that people are not going to allow the animals to suffer in this community. The reality is, though, as the pandemic continues to move along, our services have continued to grow in need. So while we've been doing well, there is still incredible need, and that need extends not only to the community, but for the community to step up and support our services. I can give you a great example of our pet food pantry. Historically, we've gone anywhere from 30 to a couple 100,000 pounds of dog and cat food to support families in need. In 2020, we distributed just under 1.1 million pounds to 1,500 families and more than 5,000 pets represented by those families. 70% of them said that if we weren't there, they would have had to surrender their pets. So our job is really to keep families together, but that elevated need requires elevated support.
Wow, that number is really staggering.
Yeah, it's incredible, and it's great stories. I mean, the reality is there are some incredible people in Metro Detroit, and we deal with some people who obviously struggle with poverty, but there are some incredible stories of compassion and love, and there is no socioeconomic boundaries to having a passion and a love for the pets that we share our lives with. So we see part of our role is to support families and meet people where they are, to keep families together.
We're hoping that we're on the backside of this crisis, but we're not out of the woods just yet. When it comes to fundraising, are you hoping to be able to pull off some fundraising events in the remainder of this year, or are you going to stick to virtual?
Well, so it's going to be, well, I think we're going to have to be flexible like everyone. I, like everyone, am getting a little stir crazy. I'm ready to see people in person. I'm kind of a hugger, handshaker. So this has been tough for me. So even Zoom, it's hard for me to sit still. I'm kind of a fidgety guy at heart, but I'm ready to be in person. I think we've got our Bow Wow brunch coming in October that we're still hoping is going to be live in Eastern Market. We have some events that are outside that we're sort of gradually back incorporating Safety. I mean, safety is really important to us, of our staff, of the people who come to our facilities, of our volunteers. We get more than 100,000 hours of volunteer time a year and have almost 250 employees. And if we have an outbreak, it's the animals that suffer. So we have to do everything safely to make sure that we are continuing to be here to serve the community. But we are starting to open up a little bit like the rest of the world in a safe way as vaccinations start to become more prominent and as things start to open up a little bit. But again, always in this environment, we have to be flexible.
So we know that for so many organizations, especially nonprofits, social media has been a lifeline for their organizations to connect with the public throughout the pandemic. How is that side of the house on working for Michigan Humane?
Social media is a great tool of ours to tell our stories. We have some incredible people here who just do a great job of not only performing incredible tasks and creating these miracles in our community, but capturing those stories and being able to tell them to the community. And we are one of those organizations that no matter where your stance is on politics or science or the coronavirus or anything, you have a story about a pet. You have something that you're connected to. So we find ways of using our social media to channel that passion into work that people connect to.
And I will say it just, I mean, that's how we got our dog now. It's like you're scrolling through because, I've joined every rescue group that you could imagine and you stop and I'm constantly going to my husband, Trixie needs a brother. Trixie
Yeah.
needs a sister. And he's
Well, do you
like,
need me to call him? I can hook that up. I know a guy who can help you.
right, right. Hey, so can I ask you, looking at the one side of the house that is not always so pleasant to talk about really is the animal cruelty investigation side. And we know you have an amazing team there and they have one of the toughest jobs. What's it been like for them throughout the crisis?
So first and foremost, that was one of the activities that we committed as an organization to that could not stop. That activity, regardless of what was happening in the community around us, just like local law enforcement could not stop. We know the correlation between human violence and animal cruelty, and we are committed to creating healthier and safer communities through our work. So we've been busy, but I also want to put that in context. The majority of our work in animal cruelty is education. I look at it two ways. As a former cruelty investigator on the law enforcement side of this work myself, if people don't care, then I want to prosecute them. Then I think we need to look at prosecuting someone. If people don't know, then it's our job as an organization, as a community institution, to help educate people and create change and drive systemic change in that community by creating a better environment for that pet.
So have you seen or noticed an increase in dogfighting rings throughout the pandemic? Maybe people trying to make more money?
Yeah, so we have seen an increase in reported cases, but I would caution because it's a little early to tell whether or not that's more people at home seeing them and reporting them or more actual cases. But we have seen significantly more cases in both cockfighting and dogfighting, and I will tell you that is one activity that we as an organization will never tolerate, and we will prosecute and pursue the fullest extent of the law. That is one of the vilest forms of cruelty that exists, and we're there to address it. But yeah, it is. We have seen an increase in cases that we've been able to address. Now, those are two different ways to look at it. If it's more people reporting, that's a good problem to have. More people caring in the community is a good thing. If it's more cases, well, then it's something that we have to put our efforts further towards educating and addressing.
Well, I know that in the past, I don't know if you still do, Michigan Humane has worked closely with Detroit police, especially the gang unit, and trying to identify some of the problems with dogfighting. And really, it is about, the safety of the pets because it can be heartbreaking for anyone that's been in the middle of some of those. But I have to ask, one of my favorite shows on Animal Planet was Detroit Animal Cops.
Yeah.
And I know it went away. You can still catch reruns every once in a while. I will say, I think that really put the issue and the work that the team members there at Michigan Humane do on a daily basis and put it on a very high platform for the world to see what you encounter each and every day.
Yeah, and I will tell you. So as the CEO, I get to do these interviews. I get to be the face of the organization. But the reality is, there are about 250 people at Michigan Humane who have the same passion I do. Our programs are nothing more than our people. And we have some incredible people here who have a passion for what we do, who have a passion for this community. And while Animal Cops, showed sort of the worst of the city, the reality is Detroit is a great town. And there are some great people there who love their pets. And that's really what we want to focus on. A is the people who we can support because they become our advocates. But you're right, that program elevated our presence in the community and it elevated the issue, I think, really worldwide.
Well, I think some of the investigators that were a part of the show, they really almost became like rock stars in
Oh,
the community. I've done several stories with them, and you ride along with them. Everyone in Detroit knows who they are, which in return highlights the important work of Michigan Humane. So it was sorry to see it go away, but we always know with production companies, there's always a lot more to it than what we see on the TV screen. But it was fun to watch.
yeah, and you can still see a lot of those same people. They still work for us. You can see them on our Facebook videos, YouTube channel, Instagram. We still have video. And what's funny is Debbie McDonald is still with us. She's one of the more recognizable people from Animal Cops Detroit. And while she would say she's not jumping fences anymore, her passion hasn't changed. And she's still doing the same work in Detroit and around the state, educating people, creating advocates. So that was a great show. It inspired me to get into this profession. And just as an aside, you talked about them being celebrities. Anytime you're out in public, people will look at Debbie or Dave McLeod and say, "Do I know you from somewhere?" And you always see her go, "Yeah, you met me. I was on TV. I was on Animal Cops. You remember?" She is a celebrity.
Well, but they've seen some pretty horrific scenes
Yep.
in their life and trying to, again, raise awareness so people understand that, for some people, they say, animal fighting is a hobby. It's a sport. It is not. And these animals that are forced to participate, uh, you know, it's not a pleasant scene. Let's just say
No,
that. But with
it's
that,
not a sport.
though,
It's a crime.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And we should note too, it is a felony.
Yep.
So with that, Matthew Pepper with us here on the MegaCast. He's the president and CEO for Michigan Humane Society. And with that, Matthew, how can people get involved? Are you accepting volunteers again? How can they
Yeah.
help?
So we're at our core, we're a community organization, and we don't operate without community support. There's a lot of ways that people can help us. It's obviously we need financial support to keep our programs going. There's opportunities to volunteer. As I said, we had last year over 100,000 hours of volunteer time, whether it's walking dogs or socializing cats or helping us stuff envelopes. And it all makes a difference, and it all helps save lives. There's adopting. Look for a chance to adopt, add a pet to your family. Fostering is a big one for us right now. Many of the animals that we take in are either medically or behaviorally under some sort of rehabilitation. Best place for them to do is at a home, not in the shelter environment. So fostering and generally being a voice for animals and for our organization in your community is one of the best things you can do. Be an advocate, be an example, and be loud as you support our work and the pets in the community.
Matthew Pepper with us here on the MegaCast. Anything else maybe I didn't touch on that you want to add before we say goodbye?
Just that if you're thinking about adding a pet, now's the time. And the reality is, the work that we do is broader than just that of the pets. It impacts the quality of life of everyone, public health, public safety. I mean, we know how much money we spend on our pets. It can drive the economy. We're a critical part of this community, and we need your support to continue this work for the next 144 years.
Well, thank you. You've done so much work in the past 144 years. Matthew Pepper with us, Michigan Humane. Please support them. You can go onto their website, their social media. Just be warned, all those little puppy dogs looking at you with those big eyes, you're going to get sucked in. So even if you donate, that is a great way, or volunteer your time as well.